everyone, welcome to another episode of the Jonesin 4 Show, the show that's here to help you live your life to the max. And today we have a great guest on who has done just that. He has lived his life to the max and he's here to share with you some tips, some tricks that he has learned over his years of living his life to the max with you so that you can really maximize your time here on earth and get the most out of it. Let me welcome my friend John Sansone with us to the tribe. Thank you so much for being here, John.
Absolutely, Spencer, man. It's great to be here. I'm sitting here walking in Dallas, Texas, across the greenbelt, drinking a very nutritional smoothie in between sales meetings. And it's great to have time to, talk with you and your audience and hopefully share some inspiration.
Awesome, man. Well, I'm so glad you could fit us in your tight schedule like this. And I love that you're out walking, doing stuff. So folks, if you hear birds chirping or people walking by, horns honking, that's what's happening. It's all good, right? He's maximizing his time. I love it. So, John, share with the audience a little bit about you, your history, past, all that good stuff so that they can get to know who is John.
Yeah, so I'm going to start it off. I'm going to kick it off just kind of letting people know that, I got out of college in my early 20s, and it was kind of a tough road. Mm-hmm. It was the late 80s. We had just gone through a recession, very difficult to find a job. Right. I really fought going into sales. Wasn't going to be an area that I was going to go into. Was trying to make it as what was called an account executive in an ad agency. So I just kind of struggled with that for a couple of years. And then I finally ended up in sales, which is where I should have been to start off with. And from there, just kind of had a meteoric rise to the top, not so much in income, but in achievement. Okay. I became one of the top selling people in a startup within a Fortune 500 startup. Nice. So a division of a Fortune 500 company that I worked for called NCH Corporation, and just learned a lot of really good skills, but along the way, had to live life to the max. A lot of it had to do with limited resources. Income wasn't super high yet. Mm-hmm. Didn't know anybody in Dallas, Texas, moved here from the Kansas City, Missouri area. And so had to blaze my own trail. So in blazing my own trail, had to do what I could do. One of the things I did that, I don't know if people do now, but I went down to the Dallas library. I got every single motivational cassette that I could check out.
Nice.
Back in the day, it was Zig Ziglar. So I engorged myself and just listening to Zig Ziglar and getting all fired up for my sales gig. Back then, you couldn't stream music. So I sat at home and I made like this power cassette with all my favorite rock music on it. So when I wanted to get jazz to go into my sales gig, I'd sit there and I'd listen to that in the morning, before you could stream. And I mean, I had all my favorite tunes on it, just like one after another, after another, after another. By the time I got in the office, I was so jazzed. And then I used a lot of psychological cues too. I learned a lot of these in Zig Ziglar's book, See You at the Top. Great book. Suggest all your readers to read it. In it, it talks about, visualization. And then two, what's really key is your subconscious mind does not know the difference between a real or imagined experience. And so what I would do when I was selling, I was primarily selling over the phone, total cold calling, very scary. I would do a fake call early in the morning, drinking my coffee to myself, and I'd always buy for myself. I'd always buy a ton of stuff for myself. And the reason I did was because psychologically, I just landed a big sell.
Nice.
And it worked perfectly. I'd also you're selling over the phone. So I would tune my voice just like a singer does. Mm-hmm. I'd go through a process of state management to get in optimal shape to be optimally successful.
That's awesome. And I'll just double back a little bit to Zig Ziglar. I'm a huge Zig Ziglar fan, and it's incredible what your mind and body are capable of physically, but mentally. And it's amazing that it can't differentiate, but also that's such a good thing because of how you can use it, right? You can get yourself saying, oh, I landed this big deal before I even made the other calls, right? So you're setting yourself up for success. You're getting yourself positive a jolt of positivity and energy ready to go so that you can have success throughout the day, because you already prepped yourself for the success by doing the mixtape, which is awesome, of your power tunes, by psyching yourself up with that, and then doing the call to yourself to get your mind rolling on that right and positive wavelength, because then that shows through the phone, that shows through your energy, whether it's in person, on the phone, even email, right? It can show up and through your energy. Email's a little harder, but it's still there. So how did that,
you're exactly right.
how does that transfer to other parts of your life? Or how did you ended with talking about your optimal health. How did you optimize yourself to do those things and live your best life? How does that transfer over, the Zig Ziglar stuff, from work to life?
Absolutely. I mean, here's something I want to share with your listeners. And, it's going to be lost on a lot of people, but, life is for living. It's a very short life we have here. And every step of the way, we can't control what happens to us. We can control what we do about what happens to us. So anytime there's been roadblocks in my life, and they happen all the time, right? I mean, we're constantly being problem solvers. Instead of being in despair, I'm in creativity mode. I'm trying to figure out how to solve the problem. And sometimes the problem's just how to have fun, right? So I've been married 26 years. Something else I'll mention to your listener group is I'm completely debt free, and I'm gonna be
awesome.
Pretty retired in the next 5 years. So my goal is to give back, but what I want to say is, like, living life to the max. It's every single decision you make lets you either live life to the max or not live life to the max. I mean, here's just an example. So I was all set to go see a buddy of mine. He's in a band. He's in a Guns N' Roses tribute band. He's an awesome singer.
Nice.
And I was all ready to go. I had 3 people lined up. We were going to, and one by one, they all said, no, 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 no. I thought about going, and many times I would have gone. It was a bit of a drive, though. And in the end, I sat in my hot tub, drank beer, and listened to Guns N' Roses live, on my stream system outside. But what I'm saying, I mean, that's living life to the max. Like, I had a blast, and who was I with? I was by myself. So it's so important in your life to take advantage of what you can. I mean, I can remember another time my wife went out of town.
Mm-hmm.
I walked over to a bar that at that point was close to our apartment. I met these guys in a fraternity. Next thing I know, I'm hanging out with them the rest of the night. So like, it's just an example of, you got to, live life in the moment, right? You only get one shot, and it's your shot to have as much fun, as much fulfillment, and as much productivity as you possibly can.
Heck yeah. I love that you're using everything you can in your life and taking advantage of those situations, right? You need to take the risks in life to taste it, right? To taste life and get the most out of it. Take those leaps, take those chances. And also with that, knowing what your priorities are for you, right? And what's safe. What I talk to people about a lot is using your priorities as your compass. So once you decide what your priorities are, and that's going to shift throughout your life, right? At different stages of your life, your priorities will shift. What are your priorities? And then as those opportunities present themselves, like seeing that tribute band, does that align with my priorities? Yeah, it totally does. I'm down. I'm going. That fits me. That's living my life to the max. Well, my friends are dropping out. Does that still fit my priorities, or is that not going to fit necessarily the drive, safety, whatever? I'm going to stay home. But I'm still going to have a blast because that fits within my priorities, right? That fits within what I'm down with, cool with, and I'm living in the moment, right? And so much of what you're saying too is you're living within the moment. You're not thinking about the future. You're not worried about the past or anything like that. The roadblocks, you're being creative and solving them, but right now you're living in the present. And so many times we get stuck in the past or think about the future. We lose the joy of being in the present.
Exactly. And, part of being in the present and going for it is, what drives you. I like to talk about a lot what drives me, but also, want folks to know in your audience that, like, I'm not like a National Honor Society student. I have developed my mind, in such a way that I think has surpassed just normal average intelligence, but I don't think I was given like Mensa level intelligence. I think I use what I do have to its optimal level through
Right.
reading, listening to motivational material, getting jazzed with you on podcasts like this, and sharing with people who could really use it, who haven't yet developed that skill set. And I think it's important for people to know that, like, I didn't come from a ton of money. I came from a lower to middle class situation where my parents owned a little retail business. So early on, I saw how hard you had to work to make money. My dad actually died at 55. My brother died at 32. My
Wow.
dad died of a massive heart attack, probably from stress. Um, and and two, they got me involved in like menial jobs early on. And I
Mm-hmm.
thank them for it. It's the best thing that could have happened to me, Spencer. One of the first menial jobs they got me involved in on my own was being a busboy in a restaurant. And the other menial job they got me involved in was at that same restaurant. They saw like my ambition that I had to do that job because I was the best busboy they'd ever seen. I mean, I was lightning fast.
Nice.
They made me a waiter, which in those days, you took a pay cut to be a waiter, but then you made tips, showed me the power of not having my income at a ceiling.
Mm.
Very stressful job. To give your audience an example, so you go from an empty restaurant that'll hold about 80 people to a bus pulling up with 50 people, all of them coming in at once, and there only being 4 wait staff. So
Wow.
we all had to work as a team. We had to drill down. We had to get ice water on the table. We had to take all these orders. We had to help each other. We had to bus our own tables because the busboy couldn't keep up with it. I mean, that's the kind of stressful job that I had when I was only 16 years old. And what it taught me was, one, really good multitasking skill set. It also taught me I made a decision, and I made a decision. One day I'm going to be somebody, and I'm going to be a wealthy somebody. And I just tell your listeners this, that like if you would have saw me in grade school, I made C's, B's. I wasn't like, the model student that the teachers were all going like, hey, go over to John and get some help. That wasn't me at all. In middle school, I didn't make, amazing grades. It wasn't until I got that job working at that restaurant and I made the decision. I went from like making B's, C's, and the A in art because I'm super creative
Nice.
to almost straight A's my
Wow.
junior and senior year of high school, which led to my college career, which I did not try to make A's in college. I tried to make B's in college because to get into my particular sequence at the university, I had to have a 3.0. So what I
Wow.
did was I got like all B's and maybe 1A. But I never tried to get A's, and that might go contrary to like what parents think, so on and so forth. But I was trying to have a balanced college experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in college. The whole time I was in college, I worked in a graphic arts center doing graphic arts,
Nice.
and I also worked for the student newspaper selling newspaper subscriptions. But what I'm trying to tell everybody is like, I'm not the guy that got the high SAT or ACT score. I'm not the guy that had the National Honor Society. I'm not the guy that when it was student night at the high school and all the college came around that, they were lining up to talk to me to put me in their university because I had such high grades. I'm the guy that through the school of hard knocks and from a solid decision blazed a trail in my own life to be successful.
And that's awesome that you had that job that you got into as a teenager, and that helped churn your life around and gave you that drive, that ambition to be more, to do more. And that led you to the sales career that you've had, and the success you've had, which is awesome. How can someone, because the Jonesin Fort
Yeah.
tribe, the people listening there, they come from all different backgrounds, right? Low income, high income, everywhere in between, all over the country, actually all over the world. We have listeners and viewers. So how can someone get into that mindset, or that mindset of, oh, I could be something, I could achieve this? How can they do that? You mentioned Zig Ziglar earlier, but
Yeah.
what are tips and strategies that you have experienced and have done and have seen work that the tribe can use to better their life and get into that improvement mindset?
Absolutely, Spencer. I mean, first and foremost, you have to know who you are.
How do you
So
do
I
that?
challenge.
Let's break that down. How do you know who you are?
Yeah, yeah. And so I have a system for helping somebody figure out who they are. You got to have what I call your three. So what your three are is your three things that you're most proud of.
Mm,
And it can change, but it's got to be like passionate. Like for me, my three are, and this has developed over the years. So like maybe when I was in my 20s, I'd say something like I'm persuasive. I'm good looking. I'm a good dancer, right?
right.
Um, so that's kind of like what your but it develops, and as you get more clear on what your three are, what happens to you isn't as important as who you are. Like for instance, my three currently, and I challenge people to go to five because we're all achievement oriented, right?
Right.
Um, my three are I'm a sales guru. I can back that up with 31 years of professional sales experience, blowing out my numbers for years. Um, I'm a rock and roll historian. I can tell you pretty much anything about any well-known band that has had any significant impact on this world,
Wow.
to the level of how they got started, what their real names are, what some of their early names were before they got famous. I mean, I can go into so much nitty gritty detail it makes most people's eyes glaze over, and 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 it's a hobby,
Right.
you know.
It's a passion of yours, something that you developed and research and love.
It is. I don't know why, but some people get into knowing like what the football players' backgrounds are, what the baseball players' backgrounds are. Well,
Right.
I love music. I've always loved music. It's always been a great escape up until, I probably started at age like 9, and it's been an
Mm,
escape ever since. And it's a really good way to manage stress. And it's a really good way to get through difficult times in your life is to listen to your favorite music, whatever that might be. But secondly, yes, I'm a rock and roll historian, and then thirdly, I'm a very good father and husband. I
nice.
have 2 boys, a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old, and I teach them to live life to the max. I've made a lot of decisions over my lifetime to set them up for success. We got into Boy Scouts. I was a Boy Scout leader for 7 years. I was the dad that took them to Boy Scout camp. I stayed for the entire week. I was the dad that camped with them on a monthly basis. Maybe sometimes I couldn't make it every month, but I was the dad in charge.
Nice.
And I made sure that the kids had the opportunity to do that. I got my kids involved in high adventure stuff. My oldest son, he did cope, uh, which you might have done Boy Scouts too, Spencer. You seem like a high adventure person, but cope is an outdoor training thing where you go up really high on wires and you
Mm,
do rappelling. And like out in Colorado, you can rappel down a mountain as an example,
wow.
or scale up the side of a wall. So I got my son involved early on in this. Both of my sons, actually. We've gone zip lining together. We've gone canoeing together. We've swam in swimming holes together. We recently bought a 8-person hot tub that we go hot tubbing together. Um, I belong to a boating club in Dallas, and now we go waveboarding, wakeboarding together. I don't wakeboard anymore. I grew up water skiing, but I'm the boat captain. So I take my boys and any friends that they have that want to go, and we do all that together. So that's kind of father I am. I mean, I try to both be a disciplinarian and and teach them through lessons, but I also want them to really enjoy life and have fun. I've turned our backyard. I think you've seen pictures of it. It's like a backyard oasis. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Very
it's
beautiful.
so much. It's so awesome, and I just keep improving on it. Um, and and the reason is not I'm trying to be egotistical and show my friends what I can do with my backyard. It's for my family. I want my family and I to have a place of serenity that we can go and talk together and have friends over and really truly enjoy life. Life is for living. It,
Ex-
it's it, it's not for sitting around and thinking about how dirty the house is. It's not for organizing your socks. No, life is for enjoying yourself.
Exactly. Life is an experience. You got to get out there and experience it and learn and grow as much as possible. So we discovered, or we're working on discovering who we are and figuring that out. And I'll notice your last one, talking
Hmm.
about your current three things about you. One was
Yes.
work, one was your passion, one of your passions, and another one was your family life. Now, I imagine for everyone, it can be different. It doesn't have to necessarily be those three, but it's a lot of like the three categories for people of your job, your work that you love, the passion, something that your hobbies, and then family life, stuff like that for you. Right? Like for me, I'm a musician. I'm a
Awesome.
kayak fisherman. I'm an inspirer, a teacher, things like that, and I'm a husband. Right? I have my wife, and we have adventures together. We love traveling. We love having those experiences together. So as we're
Yeah.
discovering who we are, and we know that, what's the next step to getting that successful mindset and growth mindset?
Well, this is biblical, and I'm sure it's probably in every major religion. But you got to have a vision.
Mm,
You got to be able to envision the unseen and bring it into reality. And it goes with a term called the law of attraction.
yep.
And so what you do is you get out a piece of paper and you write down all your goals, little goals, small goals, or I'm sorry, little goals, medium goals, big goals. You get it all down on paper. And then on there too, what I like to do is I like to put a list of my accomplishments with my future goals. The reason I do is because that gives me believability that I've accomplished these things. And some of the things I've accomplished might really surprise your listenership because it jazzes me. And when I see it, I remember like how unbelievable it was to me at the point that that it was on my vision board. And
Right.
now it seems old hat. But like some of the things on my vision board was, well, one, I wanted to build a pergola in my backyard. I did that over the last 3 years here at my house. But early on, when I was really young, one of my visions was I wanted to see Paul McCartney in concert. And I
Mm,
saw Paul McCartney in concert with Linda back in like, I think 1989. That was a
nice.
big thing to me. I'm a huge Beatles fan. As a musician, I'm sure you can relate. So I wanted to see Paul and I wanted to see The Who. And
Nice.
and actually that year I got to see both of them. But
Wow.
being a guy who grew up in a family that was lower middle class, working a retail business, and seeing all these wealthy people go on all these vacations and things like that, and growing up in a little town with no traffic, and getting to the big metroplex area here in Dallas, and dealing with all the traffic and everything, it seems so unattainable when I put it on my list.
Right? It's amazing when you visualize it, and you not only visualize it, you make it a realization by putting on a vision board. You send out that energy every day, like I'm going to achieve that. I have these goals, and then not only you're just writing down the goals and saying, "Oh, I'm going to reach it one day." You do the work every day, right? So you visualize it, but then you put in the work every day of what I have to complete this task to reach it, this task, and it's that daily work, that consistency of you putting it in. Then you're able to realize and achieve your dream, but you won't have control over it. It's just going to be at whim unless you give it a target, right? You put a target on it by writing it down, putting it on a goal sheet, on a vision board, anything like that. Because now you gave it a focus, you gave it a target for your energy to go. Otherwise, it's just sending it out to the world, and hopefully good things happen. Hopefully, whatever energy comes from it. But if you give it focus, you will get that realization, right? That visualization will come true.
Exactly. Give yourself a carrot and celebrate your wins. That's another big part of like my process. So once you get this list of goals, review this list of goals. Just on a weekly basis. Don't beat yourself up about it. It's
Right.
not about, I haven't done this yet. Success is in the process, not in the destination. The more you realize that success is in the process, not the destination, the more fun your whole life is going to be. If you look
Totally.
back on your life and you think, oh man, you know, I wasn't making that much money. I mean, I can remember like getting out of a software sales gig one day, stopping off because like my wife and I didn't have much money back then. I was just
Mhm.
kind of getting started. And I was breaking into, at that point, being a professional software salesperson. Wasn't a very good software company, very difficult to sell. But
Mm.
anyway, that's another story. And I'm coming home and I'm like, we don't have much money. We're not going to be able to go out. It's not like we're going to be able to hit a happy hour and go to dinner. And we don't have that much extra money. We'd just gotten married. We're in debt. And so I stopped off and bought a bottle of wine. And, we watched TV, that evening together and drank some wine. And that was our time that we spent together. But we had a goal to get out of debt. We were several $25,000 in debt. I think we were like $25,000 in debt.
Wow.
And when I got my first big software job, within 1 year, we were out of debt.
Wow. And we can chat about debt in a little bit because I'm curious about that. I know many of my listeners, one of their goals is to get out of debt as well.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, you gave your energy to living life to as much as you can. And the fact, and as you're telling the story, the thing that popped in my mind was, the living your life to the max doesn't mean that you'll have the most amount of money. It doesn't mean you'll have the biggest house or best car in the world. All those things are nice. But for me personally, and I think for many people, it's the experiences you get to have. Living your life to the max is getting the most out of every single day, out of the life you have. So for me, it's traveling, right? I love traveling, and my wife loves it, and we get to have that time together. We get to create those memories together. So
Sure.
for you, John, and for our listeners, you need to decide, what does living your life to the max mean to you? Does that mean having a fancy car and stuff? Does that really fill that for you? Or is it the experiences you get to have, providing amazing experiences and a life for your family, for your kids, right? And what does that mean? And how do you make that happen? And so I'll tie this in now with you saying you got out of debt. How did you do that? Did you follow, just real quick, did you follow like a specific plan, or did you just stay focused on a budget that you created? How did you do that?
Well, when you're a married couple, I think it's important. Like in our case, we had a CPA, and the CPA sat down with us and said, "Hey, if you're going to buy a house, because we're in an apartment, he's like, you're going to have to get out of debt. Nobody's going to want to give you a mortgage with that kind of personal debt." And so we knew it was a problem, and so it was just so fortunate that I was able to get into the software business during the dot-com boom days, and just really lampoon a ton of business. And I mean, I worked hard. Like, I didn't take lunch. Like other people took lunch. I was in an inside sales gig at that point. And that's one of the things, how like you get a goal accomplished, you think differently than other people are thinking. So everybody took lunch at noon. You know what I did? I took lunch at 1. And many days I didn't even take lunch. Why did I take lunch at 1? Because I was working for a big software company. There's probably 40 people on the phone. You know how many people were on the phone at lunchtime? Maybe
None.
2,
right?
1 or 2. And then 2, you had the technical support people that would send you stuff, because sales opportunities would get misrouted to tech support. So the tech support people knew who I was, because I was the only guy there. And then I didn't even really many times even leave for lunch, which is both good and bad. It's just the way I was wired at the time. I was like, I'm 23, 24K in debt. I'm getting out of debt. And so, so what I'd do, I'd take like a 5-minute lunch. It would be like a sandwich and an orange. And the only reason I bring up the orange is because people jokingly said that Sansone is the fastest person I've ever seen eat an orange, because an orange is really slow to eat. If you think about it, you got to peel it. It's not an easy process. Well, what I do is take out a paring knife, and I don't worry about like what's left over in the peel. I cut it into what looks like a great big rectangle, or not rectangle, square, and I down it. And I'm drinking my water, and I'm back on the phone selling. And
go on.
And it's these decisions that you make. So how do you get out of debt? You make decisions that get you out of debt, which brings up your subconscious. So when you write something down on a piece of paper like that, you are going to start to manifest what you need to manifest in order to accomplish your goal. So you're not going to have to think about it as much as you would think. You're going to start making decisions in the present based upon what you're trying to create in the future.
Right. It becomes a habit for you, especially as you see your goals every day. You put it in a place where you see it once a day or multiple times a day. You see it, oh, I want to get out of debt. And then your subconscious takes over, and everything that happens your way, maybe at first you have to consciously think about it because it's new, but then really quickly after, your subconscious takes over and you start making decisions that help you reach those goals, right? That's one of the reasons why we suggest writing your goals down and then putting in someplace you see them, because your subconscious will help you achieve it. But I think the big thing is, yeah, you got in on the .com right when it was booming. But
Yep.
besides that, like even regardless of that, if a person does that now, it's the fact you put in the hard work. You did the work as well. Yeah, you did the mental work, of visualizing, writing it down, doing that. But you also did the physical work to make that dream, to make that goal happen. And that's
Well,
huge. And
yeah.
I think you need both, right? For me,
Oh, yeah.
you can't just have the visualization, because then it just, okay, you're throwing out energy and maybe it happens, maybe it doesn't, and you're sending out good vibrations, awesome, but it's not going to happen near as quickly or as guaranteed as if you put in that work every day. If you have that mindset right, you're doing the visualization and you're doing the work, it's going to happen that much faster. If you do the work, well, you're just going off in a direction, you don't know where it is. But if you have a target, a focus, man, you reach it so much faster. It's like a plane heading from the East Coast to the West Coast, right? From DC to LA. And,
Sure.
It has GPS and it tracks it and adjusts it, every second or two, right? But if you think about every couple miles, it adjusts a couple degrees, boom, it's going to reach its destination faster than all of a sudden if it checks it halfway through and they're how many 100 miles off, right? Because they didn't check it in. So having that target, having that focus for you as you're doing the work helps you reach that goal faster.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so somebody who's trying to, reach a new goal, it has to be on a sheet of paper. And two, this day and age, like in my book, I was writing a chapter last night, really on this same subject matter. And I said, okay, right now, I want you to stop reading my book. I want you to get out your cell phone and I want you to write down your top 3. And I want you to text it to yourself or email it to yourself, because this day and age, a piece of paper, might get destroyed, but these electronic messages you can keep for a very, very long time. So just so important that people have that in front of them, this vision quest, so to speak, of what they're trying to achieve. And then the laws of attraction will work. The subconscious will work, and things will happen in their life. And two, like, I'm a believer in God. So you can take all this and at the same time, pray to God that these things come into your life. I mean, I can't tell you like how many times as a sales guy, I've been there where I'm thinking about calling a particular individual. I get up, I go get a cup of coffee, I go reflect, whatever, and it hits me. No, I need to call that guy right now. So where's that come from? That's not from my vision board. That's from a higher power. And I'll tell you what I do. Anytime that happens to me, you call it a gut feeling, whatever you want to call it, a spiritual awakening, I always act on it. Just like you and I talking right now. I saw you and I thought, I need to be on that guy's podcast, right? and you and I connected. We got great rapport and everything. But it's that, like, you got to have the vision. You got to take action. That's the other thing too. Like, a lot of people get all jazzed, then they don't take action. You don't take action. It's like having the best sports car in your garage with 0 gasoline in it. That's pretty frustrating.
Right, exactly, right? You need to take the action with it. You need to have the vision for it, and it's all culminating and trusting that gut feeling, whether you're a spiritual person, a religious person, however you want to view it, right? Yeah. I mean, praying is sending out energy, right? Essentially, because you're thinking about it, you're sending out the vibrations, the energy to the world, whether it's God or a tree, wind, fire, whatever you believe in, you're sending out that energy, and then it comes back to you. And, I'm a religious person too. I have a much more loose fitting of it than some, but I believe in a higher power. And then you're sending out the energy. Well, those good vibrations come back, and that's the higher power, the energy in the world coming back to you and giving you those gut feelings like, oh, I need to talk to this person. Oh, I should call and check in on this. Oh, I should do this, right? People call it callings, people call it visions, they call it different things, but it's listening to that gut feeling that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Hey everyone, Spencer Jones, and I'm sorry to butt in like this, but I'll keep this really short and sweet. I want to help you live your life to the max. I want to help you chase your passions to get the most out of life. And I wrote a book to help you do that. It's my latest book. It's called Chase Your Passions. It's available on Amazon, and I know it can help you change your life and help you live your life to the max. It's basically, in the book, I walk you through how to create the ultimate roadmap to success. Whatever that success looks like for you, it walks you through it. Everybody has a different roadmap because everybody's dream, everybody's goal is different. So everybody's roadmap is going to be different. But this book, helps you, guides you in creating your personal roadmap to success. So folks, don't delay. Get on Amazon and just look up Chase Your Passions, and put Spencer Jones in there too, just to be safe so it pulls up right away. Or go to my website, spencermjones.com, and get your copy of it today. And heck, get the Priorities of Practice journal with it, because that companion journal, that makes it that much sweeter. All right, folks, thanks for listening. I told you I'd keep it short and sweet. Catch you soon.
So we're proving ourselves. We know who we are. We have a vision board. We have our goals written down. We're doing the work for it. So then have we made it? Have we, are we living our life to the max? So we have that growth mindset, or is there another step that you see in there to really help people maximize their life?
Yeah, this is going to sound strange because a lot of achievement people don't think this way, but you got to be good to yourself, right? Like I just did a podcast, and it's like, find your best friend, find your best friend for life. And people who are single are going to think, oh, this guy's going to show me how to find a spouse. And no, you can't control who you get to date, really. You can't control who you get to meet, really.
Right.
You might or might not come in contact with somebody in the next 5, 10 days, right? Somebody that you could end up spending the rest of your life with. The individual you are going to spend the rest of your life with that you can control is you. If you can't be your own best friend, none of the things that we're sharing today, Spencer, are going to work, because you're going to be too hard on yourself. Like right now, I'm doing something new. I'm writing a book. And man, the book is writing itself. I've had all this in my head for 31 years. I mean, the amount of stories I have is tremendous. But what I'm saying is that, like, you still, like, every day I log out of my computer from my current consulting gig, and I go home and I get on my laptop, and for an hour I write. But right before I write, you have that voice inside of you. It's like, is this any good? Does anybody want to listen to this? Is this, like, this stuff has been said for years, but I'm trying to put like a different stance on it. Personally, I think there's a lot of people in this space, this positive motivational sales space, that are not relatable, right? They come up with concepts that sound so educational in nature. I just sat in on a Zoom call today, and it was so dry. I mean, it was horrible. I'm really sad to say that a lot of, like, sales information out there that people are supposed to, use to be successful is horrible. It's taught by people that don't sell. It's taught by people who made a decision that they're no good in selling, and so they need to manage people to sell. And then when they chime in on people, then they use people who just believe in their methodology that might or might not be correct for, whoever listens to them. It's almost like whoever drinks the Kool-Aid, oh, well, he's good. And it blows my mind. That's why I'm trying to reach a bigger audience. I do things differently. And I want to inspire people. So many people, and this is from Tony Robbins, which I'm a huge fan, by the way. He says this thing, and this just, like, made my heart just, like, go a mile a minute. One morning I was listening to this. He said, what does John Belushi, Janis Joplin, and Jimi Hendrix all have in common? Have you heard that on one of his speeches?
I haven't heard that one on one of his speeches, so I think I might know the answer, but I'm curious. What did he say?
So those are three people that, like, I hold in really high esteem.
Oh,
like,
yeah, same
I can
here.
tell you everything about all three of those people, really. Tons of information. And it just gave me pause. And there could be, like, more people added to that list. Freddie Prinze, all these people that committed suicide or died a very quick death. He said all three of these people never learned to manage their own state. All three of these people never became their own best friend. Right. All three of these people had incredible amounts of talent above and beyond in their particular area. You could say that these people, like John Belushi, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, Mensa level in their area. I mean, people copy Jimi Hendrix to this day.
Right.
Janis Joplin was the very first real woman rock star.
Yep.
John Belushi was just an absolute comedic genius.
Totally.
And but they never managed their own state. It's these down times that you really got to be your own best friend. It's a time where nobody else is around. It's not when you're in a crowd or at a party.
Right.
It's when you're home alone eating breakfast by yourself, or you have found yourself on a Saturday night and nobody's around to do anything with you. You know, it's these times that you got to be your own best friend. And that's actually more important than being a successful salesperson or successful entrepreneur. Because if you aren't around, then you can't do anything anyway. I mean, that's the first step of, like, you know, loving yourself.
I can't agree more with you, because it's so important to love yourself and to know your self-worth and value and appreciate yourself. And I'm talking from experience on my side. I went through a couple months of my life where I hated myself. Suicide was right on the table for me, and I was, you know, seriously contemplating it. But working with a therapist at the time to help me realize, you know, my self-worth, and just help me dig into myself to love myself again, right? And
Awesome.
do the things to just be like, no, you do matter, you have importance, you do inspire people, motivate people. And, you know, it's great. I mean, I love playing music, I love doing all those things, and I can help lots of people. But if I can't sit with myself and be happy with who I am, then I'm no good. And that doesn't mean that, you know, I've made all the best decisions. No, because I've made a lot of bad decisions and wrong decisions. I made good ones too, but I made a lot of bad ones. And just because you made mistakes in the past, because you've made, you know, bad choices or whatever before, doesn't mean you're a bad person now, right? It means you're human. You made mistakes.
Right.
Humans make mistakes. You learn. My big thing is you learn from them as much as you can, and then you move on. You don't let those anchors, those feelings, those emotions hold you back. You let go of those anchors by forgiving yourself and by learning from that situation. So when you go forward, you're moving forward, you could take what you learn and apply it to your life so that you can live a better life and live your life more to the max. Because you know what? Life is full of ups and downs. It's full of tightenings and loosenings. And those tightenings, they suck. They're horrible. They're annoying. I think of them like dissonances and resolutions in music. Those dissonances, they're annoying to listen to. They're harsh. They're not friendly. They're rarely great. But because of those tightenings, those dissonances, that harmonious times, right? The resolution, the loosenings, whatever you want to call it, is so much more blissful and wonderful after that. But you have to learn from those dissonances and take what you learn so that you can and go through it, so you enjoy and those harmonious moments more and can have more of those in the future. Because life's full of ups and downs, always.
Absolutely.
But it's how you get through those downs and enjoy the highs that makes all the difference and makes living your life to the max worth it, right? And that's part of it, is knowing how to do that. And you need to love yourself. You need to forgive yourself for your past, let go of those anchors, and be okay with who you are today and with where you're going forward, right? The past is in the past. Great. Know with who you are today, be okay with it, and then move forward.
You know, and to echo on what you said, to piggyback on what you said, Spencer. So I too, in my early 20s, when I was trying to find my way in the world, I was pretty much alone here in Dallas. Didn't know anybody but maybe one person at the time. And I became chemically depressed. I had to get on medication and have a counselor. I'm going to say it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm not on medication today, but I was on medication then to get me out of the mental mess that I was in, and through that process, can really enjoy life. Because once you've mentally been to that level, and nothing's enjoyable, you can't eat, you're sleeping in, you're either sleeping in, or can't sleep. And many times you can't eat. Nothing really works with you. Nothing's
I lost
exciting.
10 pounds in a matter of a month because of it.
Yeah, you go from like we talk about, like the roller coaster of life, the ups and downs, where you're just down.
Right.
And hearing stuff like this, extremely difficult. Like when you're chemically depressed, if somebody said, hey, let's get in the car and go to a movie on Tuesday, you can't even think about what it might be like to get in the car and go to a movie on Tuesday. Like, what condition am I going to be in to do that? Am I even going to remember the movie or enjoy it, or be able to, your mind doesn't work properly. Right. So would also mention to your folks that listen to this, that if you're feeling that way, be good to yourself and get the help, the professional help that you need. There's just so much fantastic help out there, and we're all human beings, and we're all made up of primarily water. So it's real believable. It's real believable that if you're made up of water, your chemicals can get out. Yep. And if your chemicals are out, just like in a swimming pool, somebody has to fix it. And that's paramount before you can work on, taking over the world.
Exactly. Before, you need to make sure that you're taking care of your temple, your cup is full, your temple is full, and all that stuff, whatever you want to call it, and is healed before you can really impact others. And not saying you can't as you're healing, you still can help and impact others as you're healing, but you need to make sure that you're working on yourself. So see a therapist, right? There's many awesome ones out there. You need to find the one that jives with you, that works for you. And I'll say for me, the state I was in, where I felt completely bare, completely empty, hated myself, all those things. At that point, I was doing meditations, I was doing positivity work and all that stuff, but I still fell into that rut because of choices that I made. But because I was doing all that work, and the therapist I found, thank God I found him when I did it, and it was, whether it's divine intervention or whatever you call it, I saw an ad randomly pop up as I was searching for people on Facebook, and I contacted him, and then we just jived. Was because of this work I was already doing, I feel like I was able to get out of that depth earlier and faster because I was already doing some of the work. But that doesn't mean, even if you haven't done it, you could still get out of it. It's setting yourself up for the success. Even when you're depressed and in that rut, in that depression, it's doing the work, doing the meditations, although you might not totally feel like it, but starting to put the things into place, the dominoes into place, so that you can rise above it. And having the help, having a person, having friends listen, an accountability partner, all that is huge to help you out. And a therapist is going to help accelerate it that much more, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, anything a person can do, like you're saying, Spencer, to manage their own state so you don't fall to a John Belushi, Janis, Joplin, and Jimi Hendrix scenario. Make a list, just like we talked about making a list of, all your goals. Make a list of every single thing you can think of that makes you happier. Doing yoga, listen to your favorite rock music, reading your favorite book. Sometimes I go out and YouTube an old concert just because I know emotionally something's tied to that concert. Like, I'm a huge Van Halen fan, so sometimes I go out and I YouTube the Van Halen concert in 1984 just because I was at that concert.
Nice.
And it jazzes me, man. I remember what I was like in 1984, and it just takes me back. And you just don't know, like, what jazzes you, and it helps with state management.
Totally.
Playing video games, whatever it is to help you manage your own state. I mean, I'm a voracious reader. I love reading books. And so I barrel through books, and that's something else that can be really good to just feed your mind, especially like if you read biographies, you find out that, like, the problems that you're having, other people have had, and multiple super famous people have had your same problem. The difference is they're famous, but like, I remember back in the day, I was reading like this 600-page book on Frank Sinatra, and how he was struggling to make his bills, and what his income was at the time, and what his rent was, and I compared it to what my rent was and what my income was, and he and I were pretty much par level. Wow. And I thought, wow, man, I got something in common with Sinatra.
Well, It's
It's just,
incredible what the lessons you can learn from reading biographies and just seeing what other people have gone through, famous people and not famous people. Usually they're famous if they have a biography about them, but still it's, related to your life. And there's no reason that you can't achieve that success in whatever field you're into and love doing.
but here's something, Spencer, that is going to go far and beyond anything that I can share. But I'm huge into analogies, and I'm like, so what can we do for your listenership to really help them in success in life? And I'm going to say, watch what your dog does.
Exactly.
And the reason I say that is because though a dog is a simplistic creature,
Yep.
uh, they love you unconditionally. They sleep unconditionally. They play unconditionally. They're grateful unconditionally. Um, it's just, and then being a sales guy, if a dog wants a biscuit or a dog wants a potato chip or a piece of food, they are relentless after achieving their goals, going after their goals. So I'm going to say, like, the best life coach any of us can have is a dog, an older dog, a puppy. Just watch what they do. They just live life to the max. I mean, you just can't ask for a better example of how to live your life than to watch how, our furry friends live theirs.
I couldn't agree more, and I've always loved that analogy of live your life like a dog,
Yeah,
because just everything that you mentioned, they're great role models, and you can hear my dog rolling in the back now, and
there you go. Yeah, I got two. I
if
love
you're
them.
watching right now, you can see him back there. He's rolling around, having fun.
It's awesome.
If
Yeah,
you're
it looks
listening to
like
the podcast, you're
a
missing out. He's rolling on the ground, making lots of noise, so you get to hear him and envision him.
Hey man, that's how I get my zen. I just sit there and watch one of my dogs sleep,
Oh,
or I watch them play in the backyard together, and or watch how much they love on me or love on my wife. And I'm just like, man, that's how I should be. I should strive to be exactly like that dog.
heck yeah, brother, heck yeah. Well, our time is wrapping up. I first
Okay,
want to
it's all
applaud
good.
you for going after writing a book. It's huge, and as you said, it's not like people haven't said this stuff before. Anything that we're saying, and what I'm saying, you're saying, anything, it's all been said before, but we're putting our own twist on it, and that
Right.
resonates with different people at different frequencies, and that way we can help the people that resonate with us. So, what's your book about? Where can people find it once it's released, if you know that already?
Well, I'm hoping to have it on Amazon. If it goes to paperback, I'll set it up so people can get signed copies from me. But I'm hoping people could just get an ebook on Amazon so they can connect with my mindset and get a lot of help from me. I mean, I'm not trying to like become super wealthy selling a book. I just think it's a good first start for my ultimate goal, which is to become a podcast personality. And what better way to be a podcast personality than to be an author?
Exactly. It's huge, a huge help. I mean, I've written 3 books and love it.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, just it's so fun to be able to help people with those books and have that, almost be your legacy, so that you can always help and inspire people with it.
I
Well,
might call it sales warrior. I don't know. Like, I think of sales as the art of war. Not that, I'm relentless or anything like that, but it's fought with difficulty many times.
mhm.
And you got to march forward, even with the difficulties on the field. So I haven't figured it out yet. I'm a marketing guy, so what I'll do is I'll go online and I'll see what all the names of the sales books are, and I'll see if there's a niche not yet filled, and I'll probably base my name on the niche that's not yet filled.
Nice. I love it. Well, let me know when it does come out. We'll make sure we add it to the show notes after the show's live, so people listen to it afterwards, they can get their hands on it. And folks, you can look at the show notes, do all that stuff at spencermjones.com. All the stuff is there for you. And so check it out, find this episode, and enjoy the show notes, and make sure you get a copy of his book when it comes out. John, how can people connect with you and learn more about you?
Yeah, hit me up on my Facebook business, Sansone Enterprises. It's just SANSONE and Enterprises.
Perfect. We'll make sure that is in the show notes as well for everyone. John, this has been so awesome to have you here today, sharing your knowledge with all of us. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, Spencer. Cheers to you, my friend.
Appreciate it. And everyone listening and watching, thank you so much for being here. I hope you like this conversation with John. Let us know, drop a comment, write a review, leave star ratings, whatever you need to do, and let us know what you think about this episode. And hopefully it helped you, raise your mindset and be able to live your life to the max. Until next time, folks, thanks for listening and watching, and we will catch you all later.
Cheers.